Hello, everyone. Hello, Frida. We get started.
Yeah, I can see Glory here. Glory, you should start.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Okay. Sorry. Good evening and welcome to yet another session about quadratic funding. So in our today's class, we will explore how quadratic funding can revolutionize resource allocation for health-related NGOs. In our previous classes, we've discovered that indeed, quadratic funding is a compelling model for healthcare funding since it, due to its ability to amplify small community contributions to ensure equitable health access. So before we start the discussion, I will take you through the meeting agenda. So we will start with our first speaker, Liz Shomela, who is our topic master today. She will start by topic presentation. Then after that, we will get to hear from our CEO, Dr. Masharia Warwingi, who will give additional notes and comments about the topic. Thereafter, we will have an interactive session. And then I will conclude the meeting. So during the interactive session, the Q&A answer session, you can ask questions, you can give comments about how you feel about quadratic funding for healthcare. And yeah, you can use the chat, or you can raise your hand to speak. So I encourage active participation. Let's all engage in this discussion. So right now I will welcome our topic master, Shomela. Shomi, welcome. Hi, Shomela.
Samara, maybe she's having trouble with audio. Hi, Shamela.
Hi, Liz.
Can she hear us? Maybe Glory, you can try to call her phone and see whether she's having trouble getting online.
Okay, I reach out. She's in the meeting.
She's probably Frida, do you know whether Shamela is muted or not muted?
I can't see her microphone icon on her name. So
No,
yeah.
she doesn't have a microphone on her name. What does that mean? Something, or maybe, oh, she probably has not enabled her microphone on our system.
Yeah.
Okay. It's, I mean, this, I think it's, Zoom, you have to allow microphone. I imagine that's what happens. You have to allow, you have to allow video or allow microphone. Yeah, that's one step. So last week we talked about quadratic funding in the way it is able to amplify community financing. So
Anti alikuwa na anti mwingine alikuwa na
Hi, Liz. Are you able to speak?
Can you hear me?
yes, welcome.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Tell us what had happened, Miss Shomela.
I think it's the network on my side. I'm sorry.
Well, no problem. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. We are talking about the non-profit organizations, health-related non-profits that address specific needs such as rare diseases, community health services, or patient advocacy can benefit. Quadratic funding will ensure that smaller organizations with passionate community support get a fair chance at that funding. So the nonprofit organization, the benefits of quadratic funding for health-related nonprofit. There is amplification of grassroots support. Quadratic funding amplifies the impact of contributions from large number of small donors, more than a few large donors. This ensures that nonprofits with the widespread, albeit modest community support can receive substantial funding. There is promoting diversity and inclusivity. Smaller profits, especially those working in niche areas like rare diseases or underrepresented communities, often struggle to compete with large organizations for funding. Quadratic funding levels the playing field by valuing the breadth of support over the depth, fostering diversity and inclusivity in health services. There is also encouraging community engagement, where since the quadratic funding rewards the number of contributors, it encourages nonprofits to engage more deeply with their communities. Increased engagement can lead to better awareness, education, and involvement in health-related causes, ultimately benefiting public health. Okay, the applications in specific areas like the rare diseases. Organizations focusing on rare diseases often have a smaller but highly dedicated supporter base. So traditional funding methods can overlook these groups due to their limited reach, and the quadratic funding will recognize and boost the passionate support of these smaller communities, providing essential resources for reach and support of the community services. Also, there's community health services. In the local health initiatives and the community clinics play a very crucial role in providing accessible healthcare. These services frequently rely on community donations and can struggle against larger healthcare providers for the fundings. So quadratic funding would ensure that these grassroots initiatives receive adequate support, enhancing community health outcomes. There's also the patient advocacy. Patient advocacy groups often represent the interests of specific patients' population, advocating for the better care, rights, and support. The quadratic funding with these groups can mobilize their base to achieve greater funding backing, empowering them to make significant impacts on healthcare policies and practices. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Shomela, for that presentation about quadratic funding and resource allocation for health-related NGOs. I will welcome Dr. Macharia to give further remarks about the topic. Dr. welcome.
Oh, thank you. And thank you so much. Thank you, Glory. Wow, this is amazing. So the more we talk about quadratic funding, the more it looks like it is the way to go. It's the way to go. Because quadratic funding comes with all these qualities and characteristics for goodness. I think quadratic funding is what they were describing when they said love one another. Because quadratic funding is helping people to just love one another. First of all, what Shamela has told us, quadratic funding thinks about widening the base. It's a wide base connecting with each other to create a big wide base movement. Because in traditional financing in healthcare itself, it's very narrow based. Imagine if you're building a pyramid. Well, listen to this, pyramids of Egypt. A pyramid with a narrow base looks like what? Like KICC, Kenyatta International Conference Center, is just one tower going up, like the Tower of Babel. And see, when that tower has narrow base, it can be blown off by the wind anytime. And then it doesn't reach the people. So quadratic funding, this is the traditional finance mechanism for financing healthcare, is a narrow-based structure. And that narrow-based structure does not reach people at the base. That's why it's exclusive. Excluding the entire base is not inside. But quadratic funding, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to understand this, is a mechanism that helps us to include the entire base, to participate in funding their own health. Now, this is a time we tell the people our health is our own health to finance. It's not about you. Health is not provided. You have seen the narrative we have grown up with in the last maybe century, 100 years. We talk about healthcare provision as if health is provided. How misguided idea is that? Can anybody provide health to you? Or do you create your own health by having good nutrition, exercise, good sleep? You make your own health. Your health is never provided. And so nobody should talk about health provision in this world, except some very self-centered individuals, self-righteous, say that health is provided. We are the providers of health. That's a completely misguided idea. And that became possible, that is rooted in a centralized finance system. Because for you to talk about health provision, you're going to talk about budget allocation, which comes from a centralized system. And then you have people who are centralized, we have centralized thinking, which now creates health solutions, and those health solutions are provided to the people through the health provider model. What will be shocking to a lot of people in this world is to understand that health is never provided. Nobody can provide your own health. It's like providing what? It's like providing your own waking up in the morning. What you do is you make your own health. You produce your own health within yourself. And because health is produced by the individual, then health care should be produced or provided by the individual who is producing his own health. Okay? That cannot occur in a narrow base of the healthcare system, the narrow base on which we have built the health system. And also quadratic funding helps us to think about the width or the breadth of life. Meaning that quadratic funding will make it possible to include everybody in the community. Even what we call rare diseases, those diseases are not rare. Let me tell you, a disease affects an individual. There's nothing rare about an individual having a disease. When you have a disease as a person, that disease is not rare at all to you. See? But you see, pharmaceutical companies and people in the centralized finance system can try to say, oh, that's a rare disease, yada, yada, yada. It is rare because they don't have it, but you are the one who has it, okay? A disease is not rare. It's either you have it or you don't. See, so there's nothing rare about it. You could say it's like on and off mechanism. You either have it or you don't. So there are people in this world, in the traditional centralized finance model, who like to classify problems with other people as rare, as if they don't exist or they did not exist before, because they do not want to spend money on them. It's because they want to make it look as if the money is theirs. The money is theirs to spend. Or even understand fund those things is a problem because those diseases do not affect them as individuals until the disease affects a member of their family. Then they say this disease is not rare, it's also in our family. See? So what people call rare diseases, classify rare diseases or emerging diseases are neither rare or emerging. These diseases are affecting other people in populations who are not really, who have not been in the center stage. Yeah. People in the third world. See? They're not in the world where they live. So because those people are in another world, which is called the third world or another place, it's like others, about them. So their diseases are rare to us. They don't affect us. And so they have created a narrative of division. But quadratic funding is the one now that dismantles that thing, that there's no rare disease. There is no emerging disease. These diseases are actually there. The reason they seem to see the emerging is because they're affecting the people with money for the first time. Or the people who control the money or people who control the finances. It's the first time they're hearing about it. But that doesn't mean the disease is not there. It hasn't been there. So if you go to many African countries, you find so many diseases that have not been characterized. They're not in the textbook of medicine. You're not going to find them in the principles of medicine, even Harrison's principle of medicine, because, or even some of them, those diseases are going to be classified as rare diseases. Isn't it? They are not rare. You might find that disease affecting everybody in the village. How rare is that? Yeah. So what quadratic funding has done now is to make it possible to find money to finance such diseases that are neglected. I think the better word for them is neglected by the present finance system. The present centralized finance system has neglected to fund certain diseases because they do not affect the people who are making decisions in the centralized finance system. So quadratic funding makes it possible. And so it broadens the base. You can see in the year 2000, someone, an Indian guy, I can't remember his name, he wrote the book, Wealth, Fortune at the Bottom of the Pyramid. You see that base, talking about, they call it the bottom of the pyramid, because the bottom of the economic pyramid, because at the bottom is where everybody lives. At the top of the pyramid is where we have the 1% of the richest people living in rich countries. So at the bottom of the pyramid is where we have the billions upon billions of people, and they call it the bottom billion. But there's a lot of wealth there. And so Prahalad in his book in 2000, Fortune at the Bottom of the Pyramid, he said those people are actually not poor. It's just that we don't have an organized system for helping them raise money to finance their own needs, including their own healthcare needs, food, shelter, accommodation, everything. By that time when Prahalad was writing that book, and I would like all of you guys to read, that is Prahlad, fortune at the bottom of the pyramid. He said there is billions upon billions among the billions of people who are called poor, or the poor people living at the bottom of the pyramid. When Prahlad was writing that book, we did not have quadratic funding. He did not have any idea how we can actually reach that fortune at the bottom of the pyramid, because the people, you could say, the custodians of the centralized finance system have made it very, very difficult for those people at the bottom of the pyramid to gain access to the finance market. They've just made it impossible. And so if you're in the bottom of the pyramid, you stay there. That's where you belong. You don't belong to finance world. But then see, blockchain comes along in 2008 and dismantles that whole thing. But it took another maybe 6 or 7 years before quadratic funding could come. And now we have quadratic funding to now access or to embody that fortune at the bottom of the pyramid. Now, when C.K. Prahlad was writing his book in the year 2000, it was just an idea that there is fortune at the bottom of the pyramid. And there's nobody who could figure out how to get access to that fortune until we have blockchain now, which is now quadratic funding. So quadratic funding is now what gives us access to that fortune at the bottom of the pyramid. I'm sure that all of you are asking now, how are we going to use this? Because we have the tools. What I'm saying is that C.K. Prahlad helped us to identify that fortune that existed there. It's a lot of it. But then that thing never came down to us. It's never descended down to us. It's made out there. So quadratic funding helps us to descend that idea to us, so that we can get into that fortune at the bottom of the pyramid. Somebody else who brought to our awareness about that fortune is the Mystery of Capital. Mystery of Capital in 2000. I think that was a very remarkable year in 2000. So when I forget his name, he wrote the book, The Mystery of Capital: Why Capitalism Works in the West and Fails Everywhere Else. So in his book, he said that Africa, what's called the third world, that's the bottom of the pyramid, has got a lot of capital, but that capital also is not represented in the marketplace. Because that capital is not represented in the market, it is dead capital. So that dead capital, he said that it represents what? About 700 times the gross domestic products of those places where there's poverty, called poverty. Also, he did not give us the technology or the tool to convert that capital into life. That dead capital is still dead, remains dead, because there was no technology for bringing to life that dead capital. So we have observations from several people like that. First of all, C.K. Prahlad comes from business school. He's a business strategist, while the Mystery of Capital is an economist. These are two different professions from two different, very, very distinct fields of knowledge. They don't even live in the same continent. Well, the Mystery of Capital came from Peru, from Peru. C.K. Prahlad comes from India. He grew up in India, but he was teaching at the University of Michigan in the United States. And what this tells you is that people have observed all that fortune at the bottom of the pyramid, or that dead capital that is at the bottom of the pyramid, but they have not figured out how to make that dead capital into live capital, or how to turn that seeming fortune at the bottom of the pyramid to be real fortune. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you today that we have the technology to bring that fortune at the dead of, to bring that fortune at the base of the pyramid into real world fortune. It's not just a fortune in the thinking, in the imagination. It is now when the new heaven, which is fortune at the bottom of the pyramid, becomes the new earth using the quadratic funding. The new heaven, fortune at the bottom of the pyramid, becomes the new earth. Is real fortune, becomes real fortune, and this real fortune is only possible with quadratic funding. And you heard that non-profits, small non-profits, are able now to access the same amount of funding as a large corporation. Large corporation gain access from funding from a narrow group of people. Yes, a narrow group of people. But you can have a non-profit that is serving tens of thousands of people. So you can create a corporation with 3 or 4 people, or even say maybe maximum 5 people who are millionaires. So that is going to be a multi-million-dollar organization, a corporation. But then you have hundreds of thousands of people who have only 1,000 shillings. But if say 10,000 people with 1,000 shillings, that's 10 million shillings. See? So if you can get 10,000 people each contributing 1,000, then you have 10 million shillings. And that is what's called the wide base. And we did not have any technology for doing that. What we are saying is that we have technology today to assemble a lot of people to contribute money together. And that technology is called quadratic funding. And why is it quadratic? Is that and we have said this before, that local people, if they don't have a lot of money and they have a project that's expensive, like building a health clinic, a health dispensary, which is high technology kind of project, they're gonna need to raise a whole bunch of money, say like several millions of shillings, but they cannot raise that money as an individual because they cannot have several millions of shillings as an individual unless they get one big donor. But because there are many, together, if they contribute 1,000 shillings and we get 10,000 people contributing, that's already 10 million shillings. And that's money to build a whole clinical system. See, so that is what it means. That what I want to say here is that that wealth that is on the ground has already been documented in academia. People in academia know that. And they have talked about it for maybe 3 decades, since 2000. And before that, it's well known that there are a lot of wealth at the bottom of pyramid, which C.K. Pralad called fortune. Okay, and then this Minister of Capital guy said that that is dead capital. There's a lot of wealth on the ground, and that's what we are saying today. That wealth, we are now able to capture it, not just the sense of it, but to capture the real wealth, and then we use it for doing doing whatever needs to be done, for building projects. And that is what's called access. So this lesson today, today's webinar is about health access. Access is about funding mechanism, and funding mechanism that can reach the broadest number of people is funding mechanism that in itself has access built in it. It has got access in its architecture. So quadratic funding is equals to health access. You understand? Quadratic funding is equals to health access. That, as I said from the beginning as we were talking, there is no rare disease if you have that disease, it's not even rare to you. And it can only be neglected if you're not getting treatment. So you do not have access to it, but that doesn't make it rare. And what you're doing is creating possibility for health access for everybody. And so what you're going to do going forward, because we're heading to our summit in December, is think about how to build a mechanism for helping people to pool money together, which we call it, funding is called pooling resources so that we can actually focus those resources on one specific project, or we focus them on project by project, indicated that way. Okay, so what is I think that's what I would like to add about that. Thank you so much, Liz. And maybe open the floor to questions. I'm sure there's lots of questions, but our people are afraid of asking questions. Don't be shy, ask a question, because if you don't ask a question, you will never get the answer. So back to you, Glory. Let's have people ask questions and we can have open discussion.
Thank you, Doc, for those educative remarks. We have learned that we have learned something new from you, that quadratic funding broadens the base, tapping into the fortune at the bottom of the pyramid. And this approach transforms grassroots support into substantial funding, and that quadratic funding is equal to access. And this can be enabled by blockchain technology. And that's why here at Actuate, we are championing the use of blockchain for quadratic funding to improve healthcare and to ensure health access for all. So I will welcome any question. No, I will welcome questions. I know you have questions, so don't shy from asking questions or commenting about the topic. So you can raise your hand or you can just type your question at the chat.
Anyone with a question? By the way, I think to give you the names of these authors. The Mystery of Capital is by Hernando de Soto of Peru. Hernando de Soto is Peruvian economist. We talk about him a lot in Actuate Foundation because he actually went out and did research about the mystery of capital itself in the entire world, and he said why the capitalism works in the West and doesn't and fails everywhere else. And then he identified that place called Africa, or called Third World, is playing with citadels of dead capital. That's what he called them, citadels of dead capital. That dead capital, he said, is of very many categories, from social capital, that people getting together, gathering socially, and even actually, which is capital and doing work for each other. But that's not documented anywhere, and it is not in the market, so it cannot be traded. All the way to what is called real estate capital, where people have got land without title deeds, and even on that land, there are houses, buildings without titles for the buildings, and even apartments without titles for the apartments. All that is dead capital. And then we have livestock, sheep, cows, and goats that are not recognized in the market, and they're not tradable. You cannot trade them unless you go to the live goat market. You cannot buy a goat in the stock exchange. And even to agricultural products, like corn, maize, beans, potatoes, sweet potatoes, sorghum. You cannot buy them in the market because in the finance market because they are not represented. All that is dead capital. And when we have dead capital of that quantity, it means that it looks as if there's no money on above ground We're not even talking about what's underground. There's no money above ground in those places, and the people themselves have no money. And yet, they're walking around with lots of, with it says billions upon billions of capital, but that capital is invisible. And so that was happening because we did not have blockchain, we did not have quadratic funding. So the main question people are asking is, how do we use quadratic funding to finance healthcare or health access? As I said, if you take an example of building health clinics, say a very good, well-functioning health clinic, a very good one, you could say, that has got a small maternity center, can help women in prenatal care and for labor and delivery, and maybe has one small surgical theater for day surgeries, not where you get big operations. For day surgeries, you can do wounds, repair of broken bones, and even fractured, things. And you can do short emergency surgeries like acute appendicitis to remove the appendixes, or even to do cesarean sections. Such a place. Let's call it a health center. A health center like that one, which is fully, you could see a full suite of a health center that can take care of all those things. Or the usual needs that you find in a community, like in a particular village of, say, about 2,000 people, you would need a health center like that. Such a health center, besides needing the clinical services, the building itself, it also needs water, for clinics. So it may be needing a borehole or a process of clean water. And what else? And it will need a place for incinerating the medical waste, disposing medical waste. So an autoclave is a place for burning out stuff. So such a place would cost about $1 million, $1 million. That $1 million, that can give you a very, very, very good medical center in a village, which can cater to a population of about 2,000, even up to 20,000 people. Okay, you can call it a local health center. Now, $1 million is maybe 150,000 shillings, 150 million shillings. So when you now start thinking about that, it looks like out of reach. If you are the only one supposed to finance it, but who said that that money is going to come out of your pocket all by yourself? So supposing now the project that we want to fund is 150 million shillings. How do you get 150 million shillings to finance such a project? Using quadratic funding, that's the question. And because all of you guys are clever people, you've been to school, you can say that with 150 million shillings, what if every person was to contribute 10,000 shillings? 10,000 shillings is what? Is like $100. So if the whole community, if you need 150 million, so 150 million, imagine you have 150 million and you have 2,000 people. How many Kenya shillings will each one need to contribute to make that happen? So it's 2,000. So it is maybe 150,000 divided by 2. We'll say, or maybe 15,000 divided by 2 is about 7,000. Maybe less, 7,500, or say even if it's not going to cost 100 million, 100. So you can find that each family does not, the cost for each family is not too much. That you can do now what's called Harambe. And we say that because we are all together in this community and we are 2,000 people, what if each family was to contribute 10,000? So if each family contributes 10,000 and you have 2,000 families, how much money is that? 10,000 times 2,000, that comes to what? 20 million. So you're already going somewhere with that money. And now, if 10,000, which is that's what $100, 10,000, then you get, because the fund is coming, you get now donors from outside who can now provide the rest of the money, because there's a project that's the local community is willing to each person to contribute 10,000 shillings. 10,000 shillings for building a clinic, that's not a whole lot of money. Maybe it's a lot for some people who don't have any shillings, but 10,000 shillings they can actually raise over a period of a little while, like maybe 6 months. So if we said in this, we are going to collect 10,000 shillings from every individual in our community so that we can build the $150 million shillings project, 100 million shilling project. So then for people contributing 10,000, they all get tokens, like Actuate tokens. Then the rest of the money is going to be provided by donors, even one donor, many of them from outside there. They also get Actuate tokens. These Actuate tokens are also liquid. So they also get sold in the market, in the liquid pool. So even if you contribute your 10,000 shillings, you receive Actuate tokens equivalent to 10,000 shillings. So even if you give away your money is still with you. This is what is fascinating. Ladies and gentlemen, there's nothing like this that has ever happened before. You give away your money, but your money comes back to you immediately. That you don't have to wait for 10 years, or you don't have to give it away so it goes away completely. That you give your 10,000 shillings, but those 10,000 shillings are given to you back in form of token. First of all, I just want you to appreciate that. You give 10,000 shillings to the project for building a clinic, and then the 10,000 shillings come back to you immediately into your wallet as Actuate tokens. And remember, if they're Actuate tokens and everybody works hard enough that those Actuate tokens become liquid, you can always offer up them into Kenya shillings, or you can use them for trading. They are now another economy that's how is existing. That is mind blowing. That you've already given your money and the money is still with you. What is that? You already give your money and the money stays with you. I'm going to say it a third time so you can get it. You have given your money and your money is still with you. So your money has not gone anywhere. What it has done is to transmutate. Ever heard of that word, transmutation? Like it changes form from one form to another. And that is what is the most amazing thing about the blockchain. So the blockchain is able to transmutate your money into another form, because it's already in another form of money, but it is still your money, but it's still going to be available for building the clinic. So you end up giving money to contributing the clinics, the clinic building. You have contributed, but you still own your money. Yeah. So you can even contribute again, and you own more. But then, because you're contributing, there's some people, some people who in the traditional finance already are very, very wealthy. Now they can come and uplift, because there's a spirit of contribution. People are gathering together. Then you can invite people who have deep pockets to come and buy the rest of it. For example, if you had 10,000 people, if you had 2,000 people, each contributing $10,000, that is only 20 million. So out of 150,000, you still have a balance of 130. And that 130 million is what is going to be donated by very wealthy people. And those, because they are going to donate because they have seen what you guys are doing on the ground. But then they are not giving it for free. Even them, when they donate, that balance of 130 million, they also get Actuate tokens equivalent to that balance. So they give them money, but the money also stays with them. So they actually have, the money has not left them. That is what the power of quadratic funding, that even people who are shy on giving, they won't be shy anymore, because they could be shy thinking that this project is very high risk, because we don't know, because if you suppose you give money to build a clinic, and the clinic itself just consumes money on a continuous basis, is always eating money, providing health care, as we're told is providing. But instead of the clinic providing health, instead of you worrying whether the clinic will ever make money, the clinic itself does not have to make money, because you have the Actuate tokens, which are in the marketplace, making money for you. Even you become a big donor. So what looks like a gifting is a charitable donation, becomes a profitable investment. That's another mix of transmutation. So charitable donations in our quadratic funding, charitable donation becomes profitable investment. This means that you can make a profit when you're making impact. So charitable donation that involves a very broad spectrum of people, they call high impact donation. They have high impact because they're impacting a lot of people. That's what high impact is all about. It's about the numbers. So it's high impact because it is impacting the entire base of the pyramid. And because it's impacting the entire base of the pyramid, it is high impact, and your donation becomes highly impactful. But now here is a twist. As it is impacting that wide base of the pyramid, is also making you profit. I can tell you, some people hear that they start shedding tears. They say, oh my goodness, what are we going to do about this? So you will make profits while doing good, by making impact. Make profits by making impact. So that is what quadratic funding is all about. Making impact and making profit at the same time. In a traditional finance system, Tradify, making impact and making profit were seen to be mutually exclusive. Like you could not have the two at the same time. You could not have impact and profit at the same time. And that is why many of the companies then were formatted or formulated not for profit. That was a statement to say that we are just an impact organization without expectation of profit. We see, but that idea of not expectation of profit is what misguided or misconstrued in the quadratic funding. So when you're not asking, am I going to get profit? Don't worry about that. Profit will come automatically, because when you get tokens, those tokens are going to the market, they're going to be traded. So you're not investing so that you can make profits, but you're making impact, but that impact is going to give you profit. Okay? And now that brings you to the third beatitude, that when you exercise mercy, you receive mercy. Jesus Christ himself said that as glory. He said, blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. So quadratic funding totally aligns with that idea of mercifulness, so that you obtain mercy. That mercy that you receive from participating in quadratic funding comes from the mercy that you exercise by contributing. We are talking about these large capital people who have got a lot of money, and they say, we want to be merciful to the poor people out there who don't have access to clinical care. They don't have a hospital. We want them to build a health center. I want to be merciful to them. In return, quadratic funding in this token economics actually returns them money in boatloads. They say, blessed are the merciful, because they shall obtain mercy. Can you believe that? Now that is not possible in traditional financing model. And in a traditional finance model, that you give and God will give back to you. Yeah, but you see, you can continue giving, nothing ever comes back. But here we have a mechanism that lives up to that the attitude to be merciful, so that even yourself you receive mercy. And now, for people now, even the local community themselves, when they contribute that 10,000 shillings, or even 2,000 shillings, even 1,000 shillings in a quadratic funding, even also them, they make profit. So this profit is not going to be just for the very wealthy. There's a profit that is equally distributed. And this is what he's talking about, amplifying. Remember what Glory said in the beginning, quadratic funding amplifies the contribution of the small contributor, of members of the community. So it gets amplified in ways you can't even imagine. So that's amplification. You can see the second level of amplification is the rolling profit that comes from those tokens being in the marketplace and earning money, the liquidity pools or whatever else they want to put those tokens to do. And that is what's called amplification. And that is what's called life. The life that is that is breathed, that is inspired meaning to breathe in, inspired into the dead capital, bring life into the dead capital, so it becomes transmutated into life capital. And when it's life capital, that's amazing. So what I want to ask you, all of you, ladies and gentlemen, is to think deeply about this quadratic funding and how it's going to transform the economies, even health access itself, that we can build health clinic in every community in your place, wherever you come from. There's no rare disease. That disease should get as much attention as any other disease, because when it is affecting you as an individual, it is not rare to you. It consumes your entire being. And so the reality of the disease is those people who are outside there who are looking and seeing to say, I don't have a disease, so that must be rare. But if we have clinics, medical centers in every village, which is possible today with the quadratic funding, all we have to do is massive community education. This thing, because it's very highly technical from the technical standpoint, but we need to simplify that, making much user-friendly user interfaces such that every one of us can partake. So the word I use is partake. Partake at the feasts of quadratic funding, because it's a festival. Partake at the festival of quadratic funding. And let us move to the new finance, the new economics. Let us move to the new finance and leave the old one right there where it belongs. Yesterday, that's where it was. All right, back to you, Glory. I'm sure I asked myself lots of questions and answered. So if there are any other questions, let's back to you, Glory.
Thank you, Daktari, for those insightful remarks. I will read the questions. Elijah is asking, what are the main benefits of using quadratic funding for resource allocation in health-related NGOs? Liz, can you answer that?
Well, that's what I was just answering. Okay, Elijah, first of all, did you understand what we said? We have said amplification, how it amplifies your money. And you talked about 10,000 managing to reach 150 million. That's the real benefit. I hope you all understood. That's why I was talking about slowly and repeating it many times. About the money that you give, it looks like you have given it, but you have not even given it. It's still with you. That is what mind-blowing, Elijah. If you give your 10,000 and your 10,000 you have given it, but it still stays in your pocket, because the 10,000 you receive it back in form of tokens. So the real benefit is that beatitude. You are merciful by giving, but then when you give, you obtain mercy. Okay, yeah, I think that's what I just explained. Is there another question? Sorry.
Elijah, I hope your question has been answered. No, I can't see any other question.
Yes. So that's what. So I think people will see it when you start doing it in practice. It's mind blowing. And so we can talk about the summit, and because we want, as we are now going down towards the second half of this year, we're heading towards the summit at the end of the year, and we want to invite all of you to come to the summit. Of course, there are 4 ways of participating. You can do what you can come and speak as a speaker, podium presentation. You can do poster presentation. You can come in to do a workshop, or you can help look for sponsors. But the key thing is, we're talking about health access, is think deeply about your community. And I think what I would challenge each one of you to do is find out, everyone who is here, find out how many people live in your village where you came from, in the countryside, not in the city of Nairobi. Some of you are living in the city, but where your grandmother or great grandparents used to live in the village, how many people live there? In a place you go, this is my location. It was called location or sub-location. And from there, you have the basic information. From that basic information, then we can formulate a quadratic funding mechanism, because we actually want to know how many people are living in a particular village. Because in 2025, we are going to mobilize money in this planet to finance construction of such clinics, as I told you. Actually, a good medical center or medical clinic would cost at most $1 million. Yeah, but that's a very expensive one. But with even $100,000, which is 10 million shillings, is sufficient to put together a clinic. $100,000, a very nice primary care center with even basic surgical services, that even you can do cesarean sections there. But then even maybe about 2 or 3 beds for just emergency overnight care before somebody can be shipped out to another large medical center. It's between 100,000, a very basic one, to a comprehensive one, which is $1 million shillings. And that is something that is very ripe for quadratic funding. It can get done, and that is what we are talking about. So think about the number of people. So maybe that $100,000 clinic can serve something between 2,000 and 10,000 people, population, a catchment area, for providing medical services in there. Okay, so think about that, and let us see how we can formulate such. And even during the summit at the end of the year, maybe we have figured out how to do quadratic funding for at least one of those. Okay, yeah. Particularly if we are talking about raising $100,000, that's not a whole lot of money. That's 10 million shillings, which you could even sell to one sponsor. But we don't want one sponsor. We want the community itself to participate in that. So if it's 100,000, you can see now the entrance fee for in the quadratic funding would not be 10,000, but maybe only 1,000 shillings. Participation fee for you to say, I contributed to this project, quadratic funding, 10,000 shillings is an entry point. Yeah. So I think that would answer Elijah's question much more fully. So Elijah, think about your grandmother's place. I mean, you're both maternal and paternal grandmother. Okay. For those people who live in the city, the same thing. Where you came from in the city, they need clinics over there too, quadratic funding. But I believe that it's much better to go back to the village so that we can de-urbanize the big cities. Okay, go ahead, Glory.
Thank you, Doc. It's indeed an interesting conversation.
Mhm.
So let's continue the conversation in our WhatsApp and LinkedIn group, and let's spread the word. Let's welcome more people to learn about this, because when we learn, that's now when we can implement it. So continue joining our meetings on Thursdays at this time. And thank you for participating. Thank you to our topic master, Liz Shomela. Thank you for your powerful presentation. And thank you, Daktari, for making time for this, to share your knowledge and to enlighten all of us. So the Google form has been shared. I will give you 5 minutes to fill, and then you're free to leave. The meeting is adjourned.
All right, everyone. So those who are here, let's talk. Well, you now know about the summit, and you have seen on our summit. You can go to the speakers page. The speakers have started lining up. So I think you can, Glory, you can post the speakers page here, and then for you to participate as a speaker or even share a poster, you need to register. We're talking about registering as a register your poster and submit an abstract. You need to submit abstract. So do that right away, because this is filling up very quickly. In another 1 week, the place will be full. Okay. Yes, I'm saying we are very, very popular people. We become very popular. People are coming in, large droves. Don't be left behind and saying, okay, we heard about it, but we never did it. So that is not even forgivable, for hearing about things and then you don't do them. It's not nice. So be good to yourself and do the do before the do does you. Yeah, just, yeah. So Glory post the link to the web, the conference, and then people can see the speakers are lining up. And number 2, you do what you, if you're here as a person, register, submit your abstract right away. Okay, well, that's it from me. And thank you, Glory, and you have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Bye now.
Okay, the link to the speakers has been shared on the chat. You can also check. So you have few minutes to fill the form, and then you're free to leave. Wish you a good night.